I'm just going to hopefully get that working right. Can everybody see my PowerPoint?
Yeah, that looks great. Thank you.
Okay. Great. So Cambs Youth Panel. Right. So we started as an organisation in 2016, back when I was a police officer, and the reason that we started was essentially, I mean, it seems like such a long time ago now, 2016, in all honesty, when you think of everything that we've been through over that period of time. I mean, like, we've had 6 years, but it feels like we've had, like, I don't know, 50 years crammed into 6 years or something ridiculous. But like at that point in time, and I think it still is an issue, that a lot of organisations wanted to have a better relationship with young people, and it was certainly true in the police. So we started a youth panel out in East Cambridgeshire, and coming through from that, we built what was quite a low-key youth group that was just utilised to help the police to relate better with young people and young issues. And it grew because a lot of other organisations wanted to tap into what we were doing. But again, it was fairly traditional. We would meet in person, we would see each other face to face, we would sit down with decision makers face to face, we would use meeting rooms and all of the rest of it. So most of the digital work started when the COVID crisis hit. The COVID crisis hit, and it became a huge catalyst for us to start pushing forward into lots of digital issues. And digital inequality became a really big topic. And we were one of the groups that in the early stages of March 2020 could see actually the number of young people in schools that were going to go home for lockdowns and extended periods of time without digital connectivity. And like most people, we underestimated what that challenge represented. Some people presume that everybody would have computers and connectivity. I think we presumed that everybody would have much better access to the internet and to data than what turned out to be the truth. And then finally, I think everybody underestimated the skills gap. And there was always a presumption, and there always has been a presumption, that young people naturally have digital skills. And this is part of age prejudice. This is about, when people talk about age prejudice, a lot of the time they think that's to do with perceptions of how elderly people are. But actually, we all have unconscious biases that we carry around with us. And one of the most fundamental and common misconceptions about young people is that all young people are gifted digital users, and that they're early adopters, and that they know how everything works, and that the digital world doesn't cause them any anxiety, which is definitely not true. So we did a lot of work. We've done a lot of work over the last 2 years. First of all, to put computers into the hands of young people for nothing, as much as possible, and also to get them utilizing the equipment. So we talked about that contentious word about motivation, and again, I would agree with that. It's not about motivation, it's about actually looking beyond the computer. This was never about computers. This was about inequality. And it was about having fairness and a level playing field for people who were sitting in exams, who wanted to go to college, who wanted to go on and do other things, who didn't want to lose contact with their friends while everyone was locked down in the most stringent days of those lockdowns as well. So that caused us to evolve. We had to become almost like a virtual group. Our group became almost entirely a virtual online entity. And today, if you like, I don't like to use the word business model because we're not a business. We're a not-for-profit organization that supports young people. But our business model is virtual. We run pretty much out of WhatsApp groups. We have subgroups for different projects that we're running. We have an overarching umbrella group where we do all our communications, and we have online meetings in the environment of Zoom is our preferred platform. And that whole evolution happened as a consequence of COVID. Okay, so it might seem like, oh, that's the same as everybody else. Everybody did that. I want to take you through a little bit today in 10 minutes, something like that, what that has actually meant for us, because at first glance, it doesn't look like a big deal. For us, it's been a really big deal. So getting online and having these online meetings, now you're looking at a screenshot of one of our meetings, of getting young people together online in this way has meant that the Cambs Youth Panel's breadth of contact across the county has increased. And we've got more representation in more diverse kind of communities, right across from, I'm in Camborne today, but like from people who live in Camborne to people that live down near Linton, to people that live in like Queen Edith's and in North Cambridge, and right all the way across to Ely and Littleport, and then up again into Warboys and places like that. All of a sudden, the logistical issues that we used to have to overcome because young people can't drive, we consolidated that, and that online environment gave us the ability to boost the number of people that we could work with, the amount of diversity and representation that we could have as a consequence of that. And I think most workplaces have embraced this idea of being able to do at least some of your job from home and not being chained to your desk and the old-fashioned way of doing things. Going virtual has been, a big thing for us, and we were really fortunate because everybody wanted to really get on with that and make that work. But what we found was it wasn't a temporary fix. It became the future of who we are and how we do things now. It's all about that. And the use of tools like WhatsApp specifically has meant that we have this live relationship where people are chiming in with ideas and thoughts and what's going on all the time. But the digital side of what we do has taken us into the media sphere in a much more prominent way. So, for example, podcasting has become like a really big thing for us, and we invested in podcasting equipment. And what you can see in these photos in front of us is basically a mobile podcasting studio that we put together for ourselves, exploring into the world of, getting people to talk about their thoughts and feelings, and predominantly in the most recent times about vaccination. Actually, we've been involved in a large project that came out of the Department for Levelling Up Housing and Communities that was about vaccination, and vaccination rates in Cambridge were nowhere near where we wanted them to be. So we've been doing work to support, particularly getting young people to look at and understand the issues around vaccination. Now, being able to podcast and create an environment in which young people can share their views and opinions has been invaluable to us. And we were successful in securing a grant from the Police and Crime Commissioner's Office in order to get the equipment that we needed in order to be able to broadcast young voices. But what we found was that it's kind of like the thin end of the wedge, in that you start with getting online and going virtual, and then you start exploring more. You start exploring, okay, if we can do that, can we do this? If we can have our meetings online, how do we broadcast our meetings? How do we capture our audio? How do we start to project our voices more? And that's really what took us into podcasting and SoundClouding, and using SoundCloud and having an identity there, and using YouTube more prominently, and different formats of broadcasting as well, so that you've got these like kind of 2-minute TikTok style videos, to slightly larger videos that you might put out on Instagram, to larger videos again into YouTube, and that kind of thing. So the podcasting adventure has been another part of our kind of digital enhancement, and that's definitely come within sort of the last sort of 18 months. And then what we've had on top of that is then we were building in a virtual environment of Minecraft. Now, I don't know how many people on the call here today know about Minecraft as a computer game. I would hope so. It's a fairly ubiquitous computer game brand. It's actually on target to become the most popular computer game in the history of computer games. The uptake of Minecraft has been staggering. So when you talk about the classics like Tetris, Pac-Man, and things like this, Minecraft is like ridiculously outselling everything because it welcomes everybody from every background, and it's like the it's like Lego in a way. It's like online Lego. So what we did was we utilized that as a platform. We then took a shared realm, which we pay for separately, and we built environments for young people that are informative and instructional. So our first one was on vaccine and vaccination and vaccine anxiety. And we toured that around Cambridge all through the summer. And to give it that extra kick, we then combined that with virtual reality. So the photograph that you're seeing now is of a young man in Arbery Library, where we went and we talked to groups of young people. Now, these are, young people in the Arbery. The Arbery is one of the most underprivileged areas in Cambridge. Cambridge itself has an underestimated problem with inequality. A lot of people presume that Cambridge is a very wealthy place, and don't get me wrong, there are pockets of real wealth in Cambridge, but it's also the most unequal city in Cambridge. And, we were talking to these kids from the Arbery who were very, they were fighting each other in the library. They were swearing in the library. They were rowdy kids. And, we got them hooked into this immersive virtual reality world. And they spent the entire day with us learning about vaccines and talking about the pandemic and actually engaging in that dialogue. The virtual reality platform that we used is a straight off the shelf Oculus device. So Oculus make devices, and people always overestimate the cost of VR. So this VR headset that we used, we paid, I think, about £300 for this VR helmet. And we have toured it around all over Cambridge, Central Library, Cherry Hinton, the Arbery, and wherever else. And it staggers people, like just how immersive and incredible it is. People always expect that it costs like £2,000 or something like that. But it helped us to create a digital message that was more immersive, more engaging, and was something that we could build into a roadshow kind of event. So we got the Minecraft world thing, and then we plugged it into the VR thing. And all of a sudden, we're starting to get, different forms of engagement. In the background of this, we had the podcasting running as well at the same time. So we've got all these different parallel channels, and they're laying alongside each other, providing different opportunities to different people who are stimulated in different ways and want to get involved in different ways. So this is this was our film studio that we built. This was an interview studio that we put together over in Camborne. It's been disassembled for the time being, and we're looking at moving it. In fact, we're looking at like the idea of new premises and this kind of thing. But this is a still from an interview that two of our panel members, Hannah and Molly, Molly's on the left, Hannah's on the right, sharing a seat. And the lady on the far right of the picture is a chief superintendent, actually, from Northamptonshire Police. And we have been doing interviews, and we've been building content because they're actually making a full feature-length documentary on the issue of the safety of women and girls, sexual safety of women and girls in schools, and sex. And it's following upon a large academic report that came out of the University of Warwick in 2017 and the National Union of Education called It's Just Everywhere. So the digital empowerment side of it is that with investment in, we bought 3 cameras, we bought the lights, we decorated this room, we have invested in those digital skills. And basically we have now at the point where we are, I would say 75% of the way towards having constructed a full digital documentary that is going to be distributed into schools all over the UK via the National Education Union. And that's the wonderful thing about digital empowerment, isn't it? That these young people have found their voice. Were they filmmakers? No, but with the courage to go, let's try this out, let's play with it, let's see what we can do. Let's go on YouTube and find out what YouTubers are doing. Let's learn from other people. Let's get instruction online. They've really come forward leaps and bounds. And I wanted to show you some of this today, but unfortunately, where I'm at today and where I'm presenting from, the firewall settings are stopping me from taking you onto YouTube, which is really frustrating for me. So I was going to give you some clips and let you see some of the work that they've been doing. And that included some of our podcasting, as well as the opening title credits, which we haven't shown to anybody yet for our documentary. We've got so many projects running right now. In addition to this, we've also got more traditional forms of publishing that we've been able to start doing. So utilizing online publication houses, we're actually publishing writings that are coming out of our young people, because we've been able to see the fact that they're writing poetry, they're writing plays, they're writing prose, but they think nobody wants to read my stuff. It's not real, it's not proper. Actually, it's really moving stuff, and it's really indicative. It's a really important record of their thoughts and feelings going through a remarkable time in our personal history. So we've decided to start compiling it and publishing it. So we've now got a play that was co-written by youth panel members about the phenomenon of criminal exploitation in county lines. And that's just been made available on Amazon, and is a published work. And it's, you know, we've got it in hardback and in paperback now. And for the young people themselves, when those print copies came through and we'd had them all proofread and all the publishing was done and everything, and they actually got to open that box and see their books, they were just like blown away. And they go from saying, you know, it'd be really nice to be a writer, but who gets to be a writer, to actually saying now, I'm a writer. Not I'm going to be a writer. I'm a writer. I'm a published author. That's me. That's who I am. So the digital journey that we've been on, the empowerment that's come out of that has been staggering. And it's been absolutely amazing for the self-esteem of our young people. And the thing that I always maintain is that young people are people fundamentally. And if these things work for young people, they will work for people who are middle-aged. They will work for people who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and people in their retirement as well, you know. But it's about harnessing these opportunities that very few people can see are out there, you know, because, you know, we naturally, and for good reason, we do get preoccupied with, you know, how do we have Zoom meetings? Well, how do we go beyond Zoom? How do we go beyond Teams? And how do we get into podcasting, publishing, filmmaking, you know, idea sharing and engaging with people all over the world? And that has been very much the story of what we've been doing. And I think my last comment that I would leave you with is, don't be fooled into thinking that's all very well. They did that because they're young people, and young people naturally know how to do this stuff. They've had to be as brave as anybody else to gain those skills and to push forward into that dimension. And do you know what? If anybody out there who's on this call is interested in any of those things, they've only got to get in touch with us, and we'll give you some guidance, some advice, and we'll help you, and you can come and see what we do. And by all means, we'll do some hand holding and get you on your journey as well. Sally, thanks ever so much.
Thank you, Phil. That's fantastic, and so many interesting ways that young people have been empowered through digital in your panel. So thank you. Just to pick up on a couple of things in the chat before we kind of open up to discussion. Mark asked about whether you've got a link for the film. So maybe you could send me some, and I'll point people to YouTube to share, because that would be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And Mark just saying there's so many different ways people can be engaged once they've taken that first step with the skills and kits, and then keep going. Does anyone else have any questions for Phil about the youth panel or key points that they would kind of take away from that presentation?
Some very nice comment. Thank you so much. There's very complimentary comments in the chat. Thank you so much. Any questions at all? Oh, Genevieve has got a hand up.
It's one, lovely to meet you. I work with the additional needs support team for 14 to 25-year-olds, and it sounds actually like the youth panel will be great for some of our young people who really the engagement with working in advocacy, but also meeting other people their age would be great. How do they apply? How do they get involved?
So our youth panel, if you go to www.camsyouthpanel.co.uk, there's our website. It does need updating a little bit because things are moving so fast, but if you go on there, there's a contact me page, and there's our email address on there, and anybody that wants to join just has to reach out to us through that, and it's got loads of information about different things that we've been involved in, mental health projects that we've been running, digital empowerment projects that we've been running, you know, all these kind of different things, and they can take the time, read it through, and they can get hold of they can email us and say, look, I'm interested in joining, and we'll give them the application form to join, and then we just take it on from there. But yeah, it's delighted to hear from anybody.
Absolutely brilliant. I think we might be passing some names your way, definitely. Thank you.
No worries. Anybody else got any questions? Stunned silence. Oh, got a Mark.
I have. Yeah, Phil, would the youth panel be up for finding ways to help others learn from all of the stuff that they've learned with? I'm not sure what that looks like yet, but I'm just amazed by what you've achieved in such a short length of time, and how proficient a lot of the young people are. So yeah, should there be a way that we might find to share some of that?
Yeah, I think that would be absolutely fantastic. What would be really great is to like link up, I think, with like the library service or something like that, and put some workshops on, you know, and get people coming in and saying, right, what do you want to do? And they could see the different young people that we've got. Because like, for example, you saw that photograph of Molly. Molly's amazing. Like Molly, we were doing the vaccine access project, and we were down at St. John's College, where we were using one of their meeting, their big kind of like conference rooms, and having people in for focus groups and sessions. And Molly just went off for a bit with her mobile phone, and all she had in her hand was her mobile phone. And she put a video together, and it had slow motion in it. It had a stop frame bit in it. I was staggered. I was like, Molly, how did you just do that? So like somebody like Molly showing people like some of the tricks and, you know, shortcuts and things that you can do. Somebody like Winter and Jonathan, who build computers, and they get a real buzz out of getting a computer open and like ripping its innards out and then making it do something else. So that over at one side, you've got something that's very hardware driven, you know, having the podcasting set up and us actually explaining what podcasting consists of and what we do with it. I mean, that would be great. We'd love doing something like that, I think. And if the people here think that would be cool too, I'm sure that we could reach out to somewhere like the Central Library or somewhere like that and set something like that up. It'd be pretty awesome. We definitely enjoy doing workshops and things like that.
Cheers, Phil. And it will just save me employing any more of your young people. So.
Yeah, right. Caroline's got her hand up. Oh, you're on mute though. Caroline doesn't know that she's on mute, does she?
There you go. Thought I'd know by now, eh? Amazing stuff. It blows your mind away. I think I was just echoing on what Mark said. I think there's a massive opportunity to sort of inspire other young people who quite often don't feel that that's possible for them. And I think there's like even developing some training, because I think young people training young people is a really powerful mechanism, and kind of coming out, you know, like even if they go into libraries or coming out to existing groups to kind of talk to them, I think would be amazing. And also maybe them having a kind of young reporters kind of way where they could go to events and kind of capture sort of some stories or interesting kind of sound bites from events that are quite often adults talking about young people rather than young people issues, rather than young people sort of holding those in themselves. So I think there's that huge potential there, and absolutely amazing stuff that they're doing. So full credit to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. And I think you're absolutely right, because when you create these sort of environments, then that's when it starts to bring education to life, because literacy skills, you know, numeracy skills, all of these things start to click together, and it's for a reason. You know, why do they have to be able to write eloquently? Well, actually, if they want to get involved in this kind of thing, they've got to be able to pull these skills. And all of a sudden people start, you know, you see people take a step up, you know. And we on the play that we've just published, actually it's a musical, and at the moment we're putting a musical score together around it. So different stages of the play need different pieces of music, and we've reached out to schools to say, we need your young musicians to be writing different pieces of music, and these are the types of music that we need. And we got this amazing experience at Linton Village College with a girl who went to her, went in, did a big presentation to their music group, got them really fired up about why it was really important for us to get composition from young people. And then she came back and played us this amazing piece of piano music that she'd written. And it, like, her music teacher was like, she hasn't done this before. You know, she's just gone up like 4 levels on her GCSE to like from like a grade 4 to a grade 7. And like all of a sudden it's like, because, and she said to us, it just reached her and something switched on, and then this is different. And I think that's part and parcel of getting involved in things like this, is actually making those things come to life, in the hope that then they'll go back to their education as well and go, yeah, this isn't just to be a nerdy swat. This is about me being a musician or a writer or a journalist, or, you know, somebody who can work in the tech industry, you know, and that kind of thing. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And if any of you have got people that you think would benefit from experiences like that, I'm not saying we can just give them out like, you know, oh yeah, we'll just do that. But I love to have those conversations where we think about what we could do in that regard. And I'm always welcome to, you know, I'm always open to the contact to see what we can do to help.
I also wondered if they'd managed to get any sort of accreditation sort of for some of the skills that they've kind of obtained, which they've sort of would be really great for them, because it's, you know, they must have learned so much. And it'd be great if that could somehow be something accredited.
It would be great actually to be able to get some accreditation. They've been quite successful recently. Things have started to become more visible to a number of different people. So we've been really fortunate to be recognised with some awards and things like that recently. And the Chief Constable gave all of the young people that were involved in the digital project of giving out the computers, renovating those computers, they all got Chief Constable's commendations and things like that. And we're always seeking opportunities to like put things on their CV, because we're teaching them how to build their CV, build their profile, and then go out into the world, because all of a sudden they see how quick it happens. And one of the things that we're tremendously proud of is that, you know, like our first generation of young people that came through are at university now. And we've got one who's studying fashion in Nottingham. We've got one who's studying forensics in Newcastle. We've got one who's studying medicine. You know, the lad who's studying medicine, he's from a single parent background, you know, and he came in at 14 years old and said, I want to be a doctor. And he's going to be a doctor. He's going to be an amazing doctor. You know, he's out in Norwich studying medicine, you know, and these things are really, really important. You know, we're saying to these guys, then hopefully they stay invested, they see the value of what we've done, and they come back, so that in years to come, there are future trustees, and they'll be the ones that carry it forward in the legacy work.
Yeah, I've just seen Mark's put something about the region of Wales. I was just going to say about that, where they can go online and they can sort of credit those digital skills to different companies, which I think is really, really good. So all loads of potential. Thank you.
No worries at all. But I'm sure that Suzanne's got a hand up.
Yeah, I think it's just sort of following on from what other people were saying, is that young people talking to young people is the way forward. I mean, being in the library service, young people, although some like it, a lot of people do not like libraries. Either what they stand for, they're boring, they're full of old people. And, you know, holding events in libraries is not where they want to go. So I think if you've got really engaged youngsters, they are the people you need to get out there talking to their friends, perhaps pointing them back towards resources they wouldn't think about.
Yes.
But it needs to be their voice saying, come here, not some old fuddy-duddy in the library saying, come here.
And I think the investment that's going into the library at the moment for the redevelopment of the central library and that project that's ongoing right now is...
Well, I think central, I don't think Cambridge has a huge issue with engagement, but Fenland does. It may be it's the rural. And again, I think we often don't think, not everyone lives round the corner from the library. If you're out in St Giles and your parents can't get you in, there's no bus services to take you to the library after school, you know, so, you know, or to the theatre or to the cinema. It's really difficult. And we're back to digital and what you can do online, but also there's that social of meeting people anyway.
That's true.
So, you know, we have to look at, not everyone can do what they want when they want.
Absolutely, and the transport network that sits beneath it. But yeah, I mean, and we're always keen to advocate for the library service and to get people into the library. The more that young people spend time in libraries, there's just a correlation between good outcomes. You know, it's always been the way. So we're really, really passionate about using the time and the space that we get with the library and being able to try to sort of corral people to come in and be involved in it. So anything we can do together, it's always an open door. Big friends of the library service.
Well, just saying about the refit of Cambridge, it's also happening in March.
Yes.
And they've got a Swiss Army furniture workshop next week. We're looking for people, so anyone you know in March, point them to March Library next week.
I'll make sure that information gets cascaded out. Anybody else with a question at all? I know that Sally's going to share my contact details, so you don't have to feel like you've got to come up with a question right now if you've got one. I'm always happy to take questions or a phone call or anything, you know, at a later time.
Thank you, Phil. There's been some chat about whether you cover Fenland with your panel, but Mark's put that you do. And as you say, I'll make sure to share your details and links to see the youth panel's projects, because that's all fantastic. Thank you. Really shows the kind of, the power digital can have, and a really positive way to have a youth panel that really leads itself, essentially. So just looking at time, just want to give you the opportunity to kind of flag any projects that you're running which are kind of engaging people in digital or developing those skills that you wanted to highlight today. I know with the libraries you have the kind of archive service where people can develop their skills through kind of archiving online, and whether you wanted to mention that, Sana, today, in case people didn't know about it.
it's not so much sort of archiving online, it's knowing that, I mean, there's lots of interest from all ages, especially with programs like Who Do You Think You Are, doing your family tree, or through school local history. Now, like I say, you may not be able to get to the library, but you can be inundated with information online. One thing I can recommend, of course, is Cambridgeshire Libraries. Our local studies page has links that you can use to start your family tree or start your local history knowledge. Some are available from your home, some are available, you can go into the library. But again, we point out internet access is free in the library. You can actually borrow laptops and devices from the library. So it's sort of getting the message out there that if you want to get online, the library can help, or point you to someone that can give you that help. Like I say, with family history, if you I don't know, type in family history, you will just get tons of information. And we could say, go and join your local society, go and ask someone who does it, you know, or go into the library and see what they can do, find a book there and set you off on your journey. So I say the library is a wonderful hub for narrowing down the amount of information that's out there to point you in the right direction.
Brilliant, thank you. I definitely know people who've kind of used a computer in a very new way in order to find out their family history. It's kind of a different approach to developing those skills. Did anyone else have anything they'd like to flag? And I can make sure I share the details with the group afterwards. Eleanor.
Thank you. Yeah, so Chris has just mentioned in the chat that Clarion are working with the Oasis Centre and the Ferry Project kind of to deliver some training to kind of and support people with laptops and connectivity there as well. So I think there is a criteria at the moment, but that is subject to change once that kind of an eligibility criteria, sorry, but that is subject to change. At the moment, no contracts have actually been signed yet, but so it could well be open to everybody who's kind of local to that area. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. Yes, so I'll share the links afterwards as well. Jane, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks. Just wanted to highlight the project that we're running at the moment. So I'm from Leonard Cheshire Disability, and obviously we support anybody that's got a disability or a long-term condition. So the project that we're running at the moment, which is only actually running till March. So if anybody is interested, please contact us as soon as possible. We're provided with funding from John Lewis Foundation, and they are supporting us to run courses for people with disabilities or long-term conditions, as I say, to do employability skills and digital skills. And we can also provide them with equipment as well. So as we were talking about earlier with the Wi-Fi boxes, we do that quite often, where we provide the mobile Wi-Fi units. But as well as that, we can provide laptops, iPads, tablets, whatever people need, as well as the courses. So if anybody's interested in that, then please make contact with us. As I say, sooner rather than later would be great.
Great, thank you. Have you put your details in the chat, Jane, so that I can share them?
I'll put my email in there as well. So yeah.
Thank you. That's fantastic. Okay. Did anyone else have anything they wanted to highlight today? Brilliant. If you think of anything, then do send me a note or email me. I'll be sending a follow-up, so you'll have all of our details. Eleanor, is your hand back up again?
Yeah, sorry. Are you able to share the slides and the presentations today at all, please?
Yes, definitely Phil's, and I'll double check with Kat as well.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so I think what we'll do now is move on to our kind of closing word cloud, if you like, if that's okay, Kat, just to kind of see what our kind of key takeaways are from today. There's quite a lot to digest. and then hopefully we can kind of work together again in the future. So for this one, it's what's your big takeaway from today? And we don't mean like takeaway food. So have a little think and pop that in. I think one of mine is kind of really the kind of power of digital once you get through those initial barriers. If people are able to get that support, the kind of endless creativity that it could bring for people and opportunities as well. I don't know how to put that into one word, so. Powering, great. I think heartfelt's a really nice one, especially listening to the examples of the difference it's made to people's lives. I think that sometimes gets a bit forgotten. That's brilliant. Fantastic. So inspirational is clearly a key word that we're sharing, and empowering as well. Inclusivity as well. I think that's really nice to kind of remember, and fun, all the fun things you can do online when you've got that support and opportunity. So thank you. That's really excellent. Really nice things to take away. So I'll follow up, bring some of these things together and share contact details. If you want to share your emails, do pop them in the chat so that I can do that for you. I will also share a link to the next network meeting for the partnership, which will be in the new year. If you'd like to kind of keep conversations going and stay in the loop with what's happening locally. So I'll just say a big thank you to Kat. It was really, really interesting hearing your presentation, and we'll be following your research. And thank you to Phil, although he's had to nip off to go back to his work. So thank you, everybody. Have a lovely day and enjoy the rest of Get Online Week as well.
Thanks very much. Great to meet you all.